Hey everyone, welcome back to Real World English, the podcast where we help you use English in situations that actually matter in your real life. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Fred. And today... Okay, Hannah, tell them what we're talking about.
Today we are talking about renting an apartment. And I know that sounds maybe a little boring on the surface, but hear me out. One wrong word in a lease agreement can cost you thousands of dollars. Thousands. So this is actually really important stuff.
Yeah, and if you've ever tried to rent an apartment in an English-speaking country, whether that's the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, you know how overwhelming it can be. Like, there's so much vocabulary, so many forms to sign.
So many things you don't want to get wrong. Exactly. So today, we're going to walk you through the whole process, from searching for a place all the way to moving out, and, hopefully, getting your deposit back.
That last part is very important. Getting your deposit back. We'll get there.
We will definitely get there. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing you do when you're looking for an apartment is you go online, right? You look at listings. And a listing is basically just an advertisement for an apartment. It describes the place, the price, the location.
Right, and listings are full of abbreviations and terms that can be really confusing if you don't know them. Like, I remember when I first moved to a new city, I was looking at listings and I saw 1BR/1BA, and I was like, what?
What does that even mean?
Exactly. So, for anyone who doesn't know, BR means bedroom and BA means bathroom. So 1BR/1BA is a one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment. You'll also see studio, which means there's no separate bedroom. It's just one big open space with a kitchen area.
Yeah, a studio is usually smaller and cheaper. And then you might see 2BR, two bedrooms, which is good if you want a roommate. And by the way, a roommate in American English is someone you share your apartment with. In British English, they sometimes say flatmate. Same idea.
Good one. And then there are other terms in listings, like utilities included. This is a big one. Utilities are your basic services: electricity, water, gas, sometimes internet. So if a listing says utilities included, that means the landlord is paying for those things. It's included in your rent.
Which is great, by the way. If you're learning English and you see a rental ad, always look for those two words, utilities included, because they can save you a lot of money. If utilities are not included, you'll pay them separately on top of your rent.
And then you have things like pet-friendly, which means animals are allowed, or no pets. Pretty self-explanatory, but good to know.
Yeah, and furnished versus unfurnished. Furnished means the apartment comes with furniture, like a bed, sofa, table. Unfurnished means it's empty. You bring everything yourself.
Which, if you just arrived in a country, can be a real challenge. I've been there.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. Okay, so you found a listing you like. Now what?
Now you have to actually reach out, contact the landlord or the letting agency. And this is where a lot of people get nervous, right? Because you want to make a good impression.
Totally. And making a good impression? If you're learning English, that phrase means you want the other person to think positively about you. Like you want them to see you as a responsible, reliable tenant.
Right, and tenant. That's the word for the person who rents and lives in the apartment. The landlord is the person who owns it and rents it to you. Those two words will come up again and again today.
So, when you email a landlord, you want to be polite but also clear. A good opening line is something like, I am writing to inquire about the apartment listed at, and then the address or the listing reference number.
Yeah, to inquire just means to ask for information. It's a slightly formal way of saying, I want to know more. And formal is good here. You're trying to show you're a serious person.
Some things you should ask in that first email. Is the apartment still available? When can I schedule a viewing? And, this is important, are there any additional fees besides the monthly rent?
That last one is so important. Always ask about fees up front. Like, some landlords charge an application fee just to apply. Some charge a holding deposit to hold the apartment while they check your background.
And upfront. To do something upfront means to do it at the beginning, before anything else happens. So, asking about fees upfront means you're asking before you sign anything or pay anything. Smart move.
Very smart. Now, if you call instead of email, and sometimes landlords prefer a phone call, keep it simple. Something like, Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm calling about the apartment on, is it still available? Short, clear, confident.
Confident is key. Even if your English isn't perfect, speaking clearly and calmly goes a long way. And goes a long way means it makes a big difference.
I love that expression. Goes a long way. Okay, viewing. Let's talk about the viewing.
So, a viewing, or in American English, sometimes called a showing, is when you actually go to the apartment and look around. And this is your chance to ask questions. Don't be shy.
Absolutely. And people are sometimes too shy to ask things during a viewing because they feel like they're being annoying. But no, this is totally normal. Landlords expect questions.
Right. So here are some really useful questions to ask. First, what does the monthly rent include? Because maybe water is included, but electricity isn't.
Another good one, how is the heating system? Especially important if you're in a cold country. Trust me.
And, is there a washing machine? Or, are there laundry facilities in the building? Because doing laundry, washing your clothes, is something you'll need to do pretty often.
You can also ask, how's the cell reception in here? Like, does your phone work well inside the apartment? And is there parking available if you have a car?
Also, a really important one. Who do I contact if something breaks? Like, if the sink stops working, who do you call? Is there a building manager, or do you call the landlord directly?
Yeah, that question tells you a lot about how the landlord operates. A good landlord will have a clear answer. If they hesitate or seem unsure, maybe a small red flag. We'll talk about red flags more at the end.
Good, yes. And while you're there, just look around. Check the windows. Are they drafty? Look under the sink for any water damage. Check if the lights all work.
Basically, be a detective.
Be a detective. Exactly.
Okay, so you like the apartment. You want it. Now comes the most important part, the lease, or sometimes called the tenancy agreement, especially in British English.
The lease is the legal contract between you and your landlord. It says how much you pay, how long you stay, and what the rules are. And here's the thing. Once you sign it, you are legally bound by what's in it. so you need to understand it.
And leases can be long and full of legal language, but there are a few key things to always look for. First, the security deposit. In most places, you pay a deposit before moving in, usually 1 or 2 months' rent, and the landlord holds that money. If you leave the apartment in good condition, you get it back. If you damage things, they keep some or all of it.
So take care of the apartment. And when you move in, take photos of everything. Any scratches, any marks on the wall, so that when you leave, you can prove you didn't cause that damage.
That is such good advice. Document everything from day one.
Document. That means to keep a record of something, usually with photos or written notes. Document everything.
The next big term is notice period. This is how much warning you have to give before you move out. In a lot of places, it's 30 days, so you tell your landlord 1 month before you want to leave. If you don't give enough notice, you might have to keep paying rent even after you've moved out.
Which would be really frustrating. And notice period can also work the other way. Your landlord usually also has to give you notice before they can ask you to leave.
Right, it's a two-way thing.
Another term, subletting. To sublet or sublet means to rent your apartment to someone else while you're still the main tenant. Like if you go traveling for 2 months and you want someone to stay in your place and pay rent.
But, and this is important, in many leases, subletting is not allowed without the landlord's permission, so always check. The lease will usually say something like, "Subletting is prohibited without prior written consent of the landlord."
Prohibited means not allowed. Prior written consent means you need to get permission in writing before you do it. So if subletting is important to you, ask about it before you sign.
And one more. Maintenance responsibilities. The lease should say who is responsible for fixing things. Generally, big repairs, like a broken heater or a leaking roof, are the landlord's responsibility. But small things, like replacing a light bulb, are usually yours.
It varies though, so read carefully.
Okay, so you're living there and something breaks. What do you do?
This happens to everyone, and it can be intimidating to contact your landlord, especially if English isn't your first language. But you have to do it, and you have the right to do it.
Absolutely. So, here's some useful language. If you're sending an email or a text, you can say, "I'm writing to let you know that the heating isn't working." Or, "The tap in the kitchen is leaking. Could you please arrange for someone to fix it?"
And arrange for someone to fix it. That's a really natural, polite way to make a request. You're not demanding, you're asking them to organize a solution.
You can also say, "I wanted to flag an issue with the bathroom." To flag something means to bring it to someone's attention, like raise a little flag to say, "Hey, look at this."
And if it's urgent, like a pipe has burst and there's water everywhere, you call, don't email. You say, "Hi, I'm your tenant at, there's an emergency. The pipe in the kitchen has burst and water is coming in." Clear, calm, direct.
The pipe has burst. To burst means to break open suddenly, usually with a lot of force. Like a water balloon when you squeeze it too hard.
Great image, Fred. Yes, exactly like that. Okay, speaking of bursting pipes, we're going to do a quick role play. Fred is going to play the tenant, and I'll play the landlord. Ready?
Ready. So, I'm calling my landlord. "Hi, is this Mrs. Carter? This is David Chen. I'm your tenant at 14 Maple Street, apartment 3B.
Oh, yes, David. Is everything okay?
Actually, not quite. I'm really sorry to bother you, but there's a pipe that's burst under the kitchen sink. Water is leaking onto the floor, and I'm not sure how to shut it off.
Oh, no. Okay, don't worry. Under the sink, there should be a valve you can turn to shut off the water. It looks like a small handle. Can you see it?
Yes, I think so. Okay, I turned it. The water stopped.
Perfect. Okay, I'll send a plumber over first thing tomorrow morning. I'm really sorry about this, David.
No problem. I really appreciate it. Should I send you photos of the damage?
Yes, please. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye now. And scene.
Okay, so a few things to notice there. I'm sorry to bother you. That's a polite way to start when you feel like you're interrupting someone. And David, asked, "Should I send you photos?" Great idea, and very natural to offer.
Right. And the landlord used first thing tomorrow morning, which means as early as possible tomorrow. Like the very first thing she does. That's a really common expression.
Love it.
Okay, last section of the main content. Moving out. This is where it all comes together, and where a lot of people make avoidable mistakes.
Avoidable. So you're basically saying these are mistakes you don't have to make. Like, you can avoid them.
Exactly. You can avoid them if you know what to do. So, step 1. Give proper notice. Remember that notice period we talked about? Use it. Write to your landlord, in writing so you have a record, and say something like, I am writing to give notice that I will be vacating the property on date.
Vacating the property. That's formal language for leaving the apartment. And it's good to use formal language here because it's a legal situation.
Step 2. Clean the apartment thoroughly before you leave. Thoroughly means completely, not just a quick wipe. Landlords can deduct cleaning costs from your deposit if they have to clean up after you.
And this is where those photos from when you moved in become really valuable. If the landlord tries to charge you for damage that was already there, you have proof.
Step 3. Do a walkthrough with your landlord before you leave. A walkthrough is when you and the landlord go through the apartment together and check its condition. This way, you can discuss any issues face to face before your deposit is returned.
And if they find something and try to charge you for it, you can address it right there. Much better than getting a letter 3 weeks later saying they're keeping your deposit.
Which does happen. So, be proactive. Proactive means you take action before a problem happens, rather than waiting. Classic good advice.
Okay, bonus section. Red flags. This is the fun part.
So, a red flag. That expression means a warning sign. Something that tells you, be careful. This might be a problem.
And there are some classic red flags in rental listings. First, if the price seems way too good to be true, it probably is. If a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in the city center is half the price of everything else, something is wrong.
Either the apartment has serious problems, or, and this does happen, it's a scam. Someone is advertising an apartment they don't actually own and trying to get your deposit money.
So, always verify that the landlord actually has the right to rent the property. You can ask to see proof of ownership.
Another red flag, vague descriptions. If the listing says things like cozy, with no measurements. Cozy often means very small. Or in need of some TLC. TLC stands for tender loving care, but in a listing, it basically means things are broken.
Yeah. In need of TLC equals a lot of work.
And one more, a landlord who pressures you to sign quickly without giving you time to read the lease. A good landlord will give you time to review the contract. If someone says, "You have to sign by tonight," or "I'm giving it to someone else," be very suspicious.
Trust your gut on that one. Trust your gut means to trust your instincts, your natural feeling about something.
Okay, before we go, it's time for our favorite part of the show, words and phrases. Fred, do you want to kick us off?
I'd love to. Okay, first word. Utilities. So, utilities are your basic home services. Electricity, gas, water, sometimes internet. So in a sentence, you might say, the apartment costs $900 a month, and utilities are not included, so I pay extra for electricity and water.
Great one. Okay, next. Deposit or security deposit. This is money you pay at the start of your rental, and you get it back when you leave, as long as you haven't damaged anything. Example. My landlord asked for 2 months' deposit before I could move in.
Next one, and I love this phrase, to give notice. This means to officially tell your landlord you plan to move out. Example, I gave notice last week, so my last day in the apartment is March 31st.
Really useful. Okay, to flag something. This means to bring a problem or issue to someone's attention. Example, I flagged the issue with the broken window to my landlord in an email.
And then, to sublet. This means to rent your apartment to another person while you're still the official tenant. Example, my lease says I'm not allowed to sublet without permission, so I had to ask my landlord first.
And last one, I love this one. To go a long way. This means that something makes a big positive difference. Example, speaking politely and clearly to your landlord really goes a long way when you have a problem to report.
Such a good phrase, and so true.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's episode of Real World English. We really hope this helps you feel more confident navigating the world of renting in English. It can feel overwhelming, but once you know the vocabulary, you're already so much better prepared.
And remember, read everything before you sign, ask questions, and document everything. You've got this.
You've absolutely got this. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend who's learning English, or leave us a comment. We love hearing from you.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.